to our first episode of 2018. I'm of course not Nathaniel Cochran. I'm your new host, Mary Grace Rice. Rest assured, I will do my best to hold the honor of hosting this great show as well as Nathaniel did when he was here. We have a full show for you guys today with the return of Animate and Mighty Morphin Madness, plus our battle for the best comic book movie of 2017. But let's start my first show with some movie news. If you've been living under a rock for the entirety of winter break, then you don't know that Disney is on the hunt again. For several months, rumors have swirled that 21st Century Fox was looking to sell its film and TV division and focus on the news division. While Fox was trying to sell, Disney and Comcast/NBC Universal were the two rumored potential buyers of the property. On December 14th, Disney and Fox announced in separate press releases the acquisition of Fox by Disney for $66 billion. Fox would retain Fox News, Fox Business, FS1, FS2, the Big Ten Network, and all the local Fox TV stations. Disney would get everything else. Now, before fans start picturing Wolverine, the X-Men, and the Fantastic Four in the MCU, the U.S. government must review the acquisition to see if it meets their guidelines. It is unknown if it will pass, as AT&T's acquisition of Time Warner was blocked by the Department of Justice on the basis that it will raise prices for consumers. We will just have to see. Typically, it takes around 12 to 18 months to review everything within both companies. If we hear anything about this deal, we will make sure to let you all know as well. In other movie news, move over gentlemen, the women have taken over. The box office numbers have come in the top 3 highest grossing films domestically were all female-led films. The number 3 film was Wonder Woman, with Beauty and the Beast coming in second and Star Wars: The Last Jedi at number 1. Wonder Woman was led by Gal Gadot, Beauty and the Beast led by Emma Watson, and Star Wars: The Last Jedi being led by Daisy Ridley. This hasn't happened since 1958, with South Pacific led by Mitzi Gaynor, Auntie Mame led by Rosalind Russell, and Cat on a Hot Tin Roof led by Elizabeth Taylor taking the top 3 spots that year. Let's go to my review of Loving Vincent. I'm Mary Grace from Nerd Central, and I'm here to review the movie Loving Vincent. Loving Vincent is special because it's the first fully painted animated film in history. The film took 7 years to make and was painted by a team of 125 artists in the style of Vincent van Gogh. This movie takes place in 1890 in France, and it's a detective story centering around the death of famed painter Vincent van Gogh.
Vincent van Gogh killed himself?
How does a man go from calm to suicidal in 6 weeks?
The movie starts 1 year after Vincent's death, when a postmaster asks his son Armand Rouland to deliver Van Gogh's last letter to his brother Theo. Armand accepts and goes on the hunt, only to find out Theo actually passed away shortly after Vincent. Armand then talks to interesting various eyewitnesses, people who were close to Van Gogh, like the proprietress at the inn where Vincent stayed, a local boatman, and Vincent's father, to name a few. Armand pieces together the stories that he's told and tries to solve the mystery behind Van Gogh's death, even going so far as to act out Van Gogh's final day in an attempt to rule suicide or murder. Now, from a visual standpoint, this movie is awe-inspiring. I mean, just to look at it, even the title sequence at the beginning was beautiful. The way the 65,000 frames of paintings flow together create a mesmerizing experience completely unique to this film. The only downside to that was I found myself so entranced by the scenes changing in front of me that I sort of lost the story a few times. However, the story was really interesting. Like, growing up, I learned things about Van Gogh, like him cutting off his ear and his style of painting, but while this film acknowledges these things, its primary focus is on Vincent's death and how Armand goes about unraveling the incidents leading up to it and trying to figure out if Vincent shot himself or if it was a suicide. I thought the plot took a totally different approach to the story of Van Gogh, and I felt transported into the movie as I tried to peek behind the curtain into Vincent's life. However, although the storyline is intriguing, one thing I didn't like is I felt the movie just scratched the surface of who Van Gogh really was. Although it did show important details like his troubled childhood, which probably led to mental illness, I found myself wanting to know more things about this mysterious painter. I can't let that take away from the amazing achievement of this film. The details in the paintings are crazy, and the transitions between scenes seem to just melt into each other. And camera movement was even portrayed through the paintings. I can't even imagine the work that was put into this movie.
I would give this movie a 7.5 out of 10. It's beautiful and a totally unique experience, and it really has an old murder mystery feel to it. So if you enjoy that type of genre, I would highly recommend this movie. I'm Mary Grace Rice for Nerd Central. Back to the studio.
Thanks, Me. Fun fact, Loving Vincent is nominated for Best Animated Feature at the Academy Awards. Now, let's take it straight to Zach Brown's Mighty Morphin Madness.
Welcome to another exciting season of Mighty Morphin Madness with me, your host, Zach Brown, where we get to talk about everybody's favorite teenagers with attitude, the Power Rangers.
What is that odious stench? Smells like teenagers.
To start off the new season, I want to talk about another favorite season of mine, and that is Power Rangers Ninja Storm. Power Rangers Ninja Storm debuted on February 14th, 2003, and it was the first Power Rangers season to fully air on Disney's ABC Family program after the purchase of the Fox Kids franchise by Disney. The series follows 3 teenagers who train at the Ninja Academy and are forced to become Power Rangers after the evil Ninja Master Lothar captures all the other ninja students.
Trash them all!
Now, Shugo! Goodbye, Wind Ninja Academy! I can't feel a thing! Where are we, man?
Lothar, the season's villain, was one of my personal favorites because he added humor to make the show have the same feel as the original series.
This is the most fun I've had all season!
The Rangers' mentor in the season was their sensei, but during the attack by Lothar, he is changed into a CGI guinea pig, which is one of my personal favorite mentors the Rangers ever had.
I like him though, huh? I mean, except for the clothes.
My father is not a rat. He's a guinea pig.
This season also had the addition of 3 more Power Rangers, including the brothers Hunter and Blake, the Thunder Rangers, and Cam the Green Ranger, who is the son of the now guinea pig sensei. The season ends as the Rangers send Lothar and his minions back to the abyss of evil. This season of Power Rangers had a lot of firsts, including the first season to start with 3 Rangers. Eventually they did end up with the normal 6, and also it was the first season not to feature a pink or white Ranger. For Mighty Morphin Madness, this has been Zach Brown. Now back to Nerd Central.
Shame.
Thunderstorm! Full power! Let's go!
Thanks, Zach. By the way, I thought Ninja Storm was sweet. We're going to take a short break, but stay tuned for the next installment of Animate and the showdown to see which comic book film reigns supreme in 2017. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Nerd Central. We're going to kick it straight to the next installment of Animate, where they discuss all things animated.
Welcome to Animate. We are in Season 2. Molly and I here are going to be talking about the first anime we ever watched to start off the new season. So, usually Americans have, the first one of Pokemon or Digimon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, the really mainstream ones, if you want to call them that. But Molly, I hear you had a different experience?
Yes, so I'd seen commercials for Pokemon or Digimon, but it never really interested me. It wasn't until I went to a friend's birthday party, and I mentioned this before in the first Animate we did, where my first Animate is also my guilty pleasure, which is Orange High School Host Club. So, it was a nice first anime to get started, because I think I watched the first season within like 2 days, so maybe a day. I don't know. So
I mean, that's the beginnings of a binge watcher, so you got that going.
Yeah, you really do. So
since you've had your first anime experience, like, what kind of genre or what other anime have you been looking at?
That's a good question. I just watch whatever is on Netflix because...
Yeah, but what's, like, the wow factor? What you said Pokemon didn't appeal to you. What made you think, hey, I want to watch this one next?
You know, Pokemon interests me. I had watched up until the 2000 Pokemon movie, and then, Ash died, and I was like, well, that's sad. But then all the Pokemon cried, and he came back to life, and I was like, well, this is bull.
So what do you think are, like, the pros and cons, if you will, to someone who starts out anime by watching, like, Pokemon as opposed to a lesser-known one, like Elfenlied or Oran High School Host Club?
I think it's because you get into a different culture with those. Because the mainstream ones, you can go out and easily find, Pokemon Go came out and everybody was like, oh my gosh, it's my childhood.
Well, because it's more like Americanized. I think the ones that have a lot of episodes like Naruto and, all those other ones, they have so many episodes, they're so popular, they've been, in America for some time that it's kind of lost the whole, like, this is Japanese, this is different, and it's become Americanized in some way. And that's why I kind of like the smaller ones, the ones with fewer episodes, the ones that no one really knows about as much, because you get to see, like, what Japan thinks is appropriate as opposed to what America thinks is appropriate, and those are two different things.
And and you get the voiceovers. A lot of the ones on Netflix that are from Japan, you have to read the subtitles, but like with Pokemon and them, they've now have voiceovers for them, which is nice in its own way because you don't have to like read, but at the same time you don't get that Japanese culture embedded in the anime.
And when you're talking about like sub versus dub, and man, there could be a days-long argument, a weeks-long argument over which one is better. But like personally, I like the sub better because even though I have to sit there and read the words on the screen, you get the original like voice acting. Japanese, like the Japanese language is just so vibrant and active, and like the emotions that they can portray is just over the top, and it's beautiful in some instances, and you just don't get that with the American language. Alright, well that's it for Animate this week. I wanted to thank Molly for coming on and sharing her first anime experience with us. It was nice to have you on.
Anything for you.
If you would like to be a part of Animate, I'm going to stick my email down here. Go ahead and hit me up if you want to be a part of this. It's a lot of fun. We have multiple witnesses, and it's a blast, so you should just join us. See you next week on Nerd Central.
Thanks, you guys. Now let's talk about some TV news. A bit of nostalgia is coming to Hulu in 2020. The Animaniacs are making a triumphant return. The first series debuted in 1993 on Fox Kids before finishing its run in 1998 on Kids WB. Steven Spielberg is slated to return as executive producer of the revived series. In the press release, it has been announced that Pinky and the Brain will make an appearance in the show, as their characters started on the show before having a spin-off show of their own. Hulu also announced that every episode of the original Animaniacs, along with Pinky and the Brain, Pinky Elmira and the Brain, and Tiny Toon Adventures are available to stream. Now, we are going to take it to Keegan Cooper and Haley Southard for their review of Rudy.
With the Super Bowl just around the corner, we decided to take you back to a 1993 movie about a boy and his dream. Rudy is about a young boy who dreams of playing for Notre Dame. Throughout his journey, Rudy faces many challenges, all while staying true to himself. Rudy is a family-friendly film that shows that if you work hard and persevere, then your dreams can come true. Rudy is a film that everyone can relate to, showing that no dream is too big. Rudy is an outstanding film and definitely a must-see.
Thanks, you two. Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. All right, that was lame. This is going to do it for the first episode of the new year. Nerd Showdown is next. You can check up on all of the previous episodes on the KNWT YouTube page. Also, follow KNWT on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and follow Nerd Central on Twitter at nerd_central_TV. The best comic book movie of 2017 will be decided after the break. Stay tuned.
Hello and welcome to Nerd Showdown, the part of Nerd Central where we battle it out on a particular topic we have no business debating. I'm your host, Devin Van Zant, and this being the first showdown of 2018, we ask the question, what is the best comic book film of 2017? Keep in mind, our fighters will be diving deep into their respective films, so this is your spoiler warning. Speaking of our fighters, to my left, or right, I have Nerdmageddon on-air personality, Court Jensen. Court, which film have you chosen?
It's going to be Hammer Time with Thor Ragnarok.
Wonderful. And to my left of frame, I have Nerd Central Creative Director Bradley Justice. Bradley, what film have you chosen?
I'm going with Spidey, Spider-Man Homecoming.
Wonderful. The rules are simple. Each competitor has 2 minutes to make an opening statement during which they will only talk about their movie. In round 2, they will have 90 seconds to examine their opponent's film. If they do not comply with the rules in round 1 or 2, I have the right to cede the rest of their time to their competitor. For round 3, both of them will have 60 seconds for a closing argument, where they will recap anything they've said in the first 2 rounds and may bring new facts up. After that, yours truly will decide who walks away the victor based solely on the arguments made during the showdown. Now that that's out of the way, let's showdown! All right, Bradley, you get the first segment. Your time begins now.
All right, Spider-Man Homecoming. Why it's the best film of 2017, comic book film of 2017, was because we waited so long for such a good film for Spider-Man. The last one was probably Tobey Maguire's 2004, Spider-Man 2. So, having it bring back, just the nostalgic of like having a witty Spider-Man and a funny Spider-Man was great. Not so serious Spider-Man that Andrew Garfield was playing. I still feel like it got all different kinds of like people to enjoy it, because like high school in there is high school like it is now. The father figure of Iron Man, and how he like presented it and how he went around it and everything like that. And I feel like the movie as a comic book movie is such good because always action packed, always kept you on your toes, even whenever there was nothing going on. Like whenever he got trapped, when he got trapped alone with his suit and he just learned his suit, that was still entertaining. There was literally nothing going on but him talking to his suit and learning all the new mechanics. Want to watch the character development of Spider-Man and not another origin story and watching, Uncle Ben die. And that's the reason I liked it so much.
Thank you, Bradley. Court, you're up next. Your time begins now.
All right, Thor Ragnarok was just a breath of fresh air in the world of the Thor universe. Kenneth Branagh, or however you say that guy's the original director of the first 2. They were good. They were just ho-hum affairs. But Taika Waititi, which is so fun to say, brought a new energy, creativity, and like just humor. And you talked about development. Well, this has development, a lot of development going on with Thor. They stripped him of not only his precious locks, but they stripped him of Mjolnir, and they start off with Surtur, this giant demon. Off the bat, we're seeing these fantastical stuff that's jumping out of like the comic books, and we're like, are they going full comic book, full craziness that they haven't went before really? We see Surtur, we see Phineas Wolf. It's welcome back Banner and welcome back Hulk. We're seeing Hulk look better each time. Each time we see the CGI look more fantastic. And he's stuck as Hulk for all these years. Yes, we see that classic stuff that Marvel's doing with molding like two different storylines. We're seeing Ragnarok, which was in the comic, and we're also seeing Planet Hulk. We got to see a Royal Rumble for the ages. Thor actually used something. He's the god of thunder, so he used thunder. What else is awesome about this? Oh yeah, Led Zeppelin.
Thank you, Court. Bradley, it's time to tear things down. You think you could do it? All right, well, your time starts now.
All the characters were sort of like, I know like Marvel seems to always have like this, 14-part plan or whatever, have this overlord plan of how to do stuff. And I feel like that movie was sort of just, crap, we forgot to put Hulk. How do we get Hulk? That. So the whole movie to me is just bringing back Hulk.
All right, Court, tear into him. Your time starts now.
All right. I thought Spider-Man Homecoming was a little weak in like the ensemble department. There wasn't that many engaging villains. Yeah, Michael Keaton, but like I was disappointed a little bit by the Tinker and Shocker. We don't want to go too crazy. We don't want to go like Spider-Man 3 or Amazing Spider-Man 2 with overkill. I just wanted a little bit more. It felt like the ferry scene a little bit was like reminiscent of the subway from Spider-Man 2, as far as he's trying to keep that together and struggle, and people are like kind of rooting for him.
Bradley, can you wrap things up for us? You got 60 seconds.
So I think the comedic part about what you were saying, like, the small neighborhood swinging through, is because everyone knows him as in, he just swings through the air and like, well, what is he hooked onto? He's hooked onto a helicopter. Like in the comics and stuff like that, if he just hooked onto nothing, there's always a helicopter, assume it. So whenever he actually does hook onto a helicopter to like swing in and save, that's the funniest thing.
And Court, can you give us a conclusion?
I'm gonna sure try. I'm gonna come in like a wrecking ball, like Miley Cyrus, with your construction analogy. I think just like it put a smile on my face to see like the first 15 minutes with him and Cerner was so exciting. Like just the comedy aspect of that, he's chained up. There's also really fun, enjoyable twists that I never thought I would see. Like they do when he's in a chair first going to meet the Grandmaster, they play the Willy Wonka Imagination song, and I thought that was awesome. There's just a lot of things a lot of weight to that movie that we're gonna see hopefully resolved in the next Avenger movie.
All right, that's gonna do it for this week's showdown. I have made my decision, and the winner is Court. Yay! Yeah. You can head to Nerd Central's Twitter to show your support for this week's showdown. Weekend Sports Kickoff is coming up next. See you next week on Nerd Central.
I came in like a wrecking ball. I never hit so hard in love. All I wanted was to break you off. All you ever did was wreck me. Yeah, you wrecked me.
Thank you for watching my first episode of hosting Nerd Central. If you want to watch all of last season's episodes, you can click right here. To watch WSK's last episode, click here. And if you like all of KNWT's content, click the subscribe button right over here. See you next week.